All right, if you look on the screen, this is your first assignment. So we went and created a folder on the desktop called Java. As it says, this will hold all of your Java homework for the next 3 weeks. All right, you are to key in the first 3 programs. We're only going to worry about the first one right now. All right, so what I'd like everybody in here to do, you're at right here. When I said, are you there? You all said yes. All right, so click the button that says Create New Project. All right, Java should be there by default. None of these should be checked. This will be the same for all these for the next 3 weeks. This will be different when we get into Android Studio in a few weeks. All right, so click Next. And it says, do you want to create this from a template? No. All right, we're starting brand new from scratch, so we click Next. Now it says, what do you want to call this? All right, for the first one that we create, all right, we're just going to call this project name Payroll 1 with a big P. Payroll with a number 1 after it. All right, now don't hit Enter when you get done, because we have to tell it where we want it to live, right there. So I'm going to click the 3 dots, and I want it to go under Rankin and under my desktop, and we just created a folder named Java, even though it's not showing mine, which is good. All right, so let's take a look and see why it's not there. Hopefully yours does show. I don't know why mine wouldn't. There it is. All right, so that's the project file. So yours should look like this. I know that's not that easy to read. Sorry about that. Payroll 1, and then, of course, your path will be different than mine. But mine is C:\users, \Rankin, \desktop, \Java. Everybody there? All right, so click the Finish button. That is going to create a new project, and if you look on your left here, up on the screen, on the left, this area right here is where we set stuff up. This area is where all your code will be. And when you run the first program, the output's actually going to appear down here. They all have names. I don't remember what they are. It's really not that important. Now, is this what yours looks like? Here. Click the arrow that's by Java right there. Okay? And it should look like this. Does yours look like this? All right. Right mouse click on your source folder. Right mouse click on it. You're going to do this every time for the next 3 weeks. So right mouse click on the source folder and choose New and go down and find package, sorry, which is about 5 down. Okay? So choose package and it asks for the name. Again, this will be the reverse of your mail name. For me, I'm JP Scott at rankin.edu, so mine will be edu.rankin.jpscott. I mean, if you really want to that bad, you know, you could just put down your email. You know, in other words, you could just put down M. Purcell. You could do that, but this is, bless you, this is the way it's normally done. This is a reverse domain notation. So you would put org.rankin, what is it? Inside Rankin dot a Calcaterra. Okay? You can use the same package for every project you create, because every time when you create that folder, the folder will have a different name, so the project name underneath it will be fine. Does that make sense? All right, if you've got that, just click OK. And if you look up here, notice what we have now. See that? We now have a folder underneath there. We've got to do one more thing. We want to right mouse click on edu dot, or whatever yours is called, and we again want to choose new, but now we want to choose class. Java class, the top one. Okay. For this one, for most every one of these exercises we're going to do, we're just going to call each one payroll. Now, look on the screen, please, because I'm about to hit enter, but before I do, see how it says class there? There is a drop down, so if I wanted it to be something else, I could choose it in here. That's not going to be an issue for us. All right, so yours should say payroll and class. Click OK. And you all know how to use the wheel on here, right? So if you can make this as big as you want to make it. Okay. So right now, you can see everything that I have, correct? It's up to you. More and more books are saying that you should code like this. Some, if you look on the screen, say you should code like that. It really, in the end, doesn't matter, all right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, I gave you the hard copies of the code, correct? You shouldn't just, you should have all those. The first one looks like it's about that big. It just takes up part of the page. All right. So I've got my package statement in there. I've got my class statement in there. Whether or not you choose to put in a bunch of documentation isn't that important. Whoops, not that. But I can copy this, and I can put, again, a begin, and I can put an end in here. You can do that. You don't have to do that. All right? But I'm just literally going to type in all of the stuff that you see on here. You can put my name in there. You can put your name in there. You can put a fictitious name in there. That's not what matters. But I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to key this in. Oh, didn't put a mean in there.
Scott, might be over the weird options. I'm just trying to make my project. Not sure what we're doing.
All right, I'll be right there. Oh, it failed again. Okay. When you, so you did load everything, right? And let's see. That color's great. Go to program files. And start with that. Right now, I'm in the folder. Yeah, and choose File Explorer. And over here. What's your home drive? Yeah, it's not showing. You want some cold? Yeah. Go to program. Let's try just program files first. There's a Java folder in there. Well, you might want to put your name, what it is, but we're on the word name. I'm not sure which one it is, so keep going. Put it again. Well, that looks empty, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just made it. I was trying.
No, okay. I don't want one on this one. No, I need the,
Oh.
I need the one on your C drive.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's still on it. Where is that right now? Is that your C drive?
Yeah.
I don't want that, John. That's not right. I just want it so it says C colon, program files. No, I don't want you to. Well, I'll take one.
Oh, yeah.
I just, cause I can't read your screen. So. What was it?
Yeah.
Not sure which one of these it is. One of these is here. How did you do the download on this? Follow the instructions I gave, or do something else?
I can do it again. I can follow it, right?
Well,
I can download it again.
I'll change it to this. I don't know, but whatever he downloaded doesn't look complete. We downloaded.
Yeah.
That's right. shows the case there. Just click on it and recognize it. Exactly the same. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'd rather, they got theirs done. If you have finished yours, all right, do a file, save all, all right. So everybody do a file, save all, and after you do the file, save all, under, go to run and click run on the menu, and then run program. And it should be right near the top, and it should run it for you then. Double click the USB file. File where it came in there. Work. All right, did yours work? I got errors. Okay. Everything. That should be everything.
Oh, yeah.
Figure it out.
What is, last payroll is not being used in value.
Run. No, that's it. You click one. We'll go back to one.
Set up best control.
Click one. Hey, click one. Hey, you tried it. Well, you tried to get it configured, what you just said. I don't know why that's happening. It should be recognizing it and what you put in there. think we have the same kind of problem with that part, not picking up your genes, but. And the instructions I gave you, I went back and did it exactly like that, and it worked just fine. When you downloaded this, did you choose the community edition?
I think first option,
Well, because this is like, okay, I hope so. Okay. You should be all right. He's got community edition. He doesn't have that name right there. Now it's not. See, that's not. I don't know what this is. What the job? There you go. I did email them today because they sent me the new job listing. And, he told me that, when we get stuff, I'll send it to them. So did yours work, Andrew?
Yeah.
Did yours work, Tony? Yours work.
I mean, it does say, annotations with that.
Oh, that's, we're gonna go over annotation.
Oh, no. One thing I checked when I installed it was, it asked if it wanted to recognize .java extensions or whatever, and I checked that. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
When you install what?
This application.
The thing I had on
IntelliJ?
and you said you didn't know what it was.
No, I said, when I did it, I just all the defaults for everything. That's why I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And that might be what you said. Okay?
I didn't check the
I don't know if it's different. This is what the option gave me.
The copy of what?
This is one I installed that. Denise.
I don't care, sure, I can find it. I don't know. His looks fine to me, but it's just not showing anything.
Workshop.
Oh, there is.
No.
We'll get it. We'll get it. I don't see any. I didn't see anything you did wrong. Tony, we just decided we're going to do.
Name? Mine works though.
Yeah, but it doesn't. So
No, it's Collins one. You know why? Because that's Collins.
That was Collins.
So now it's Collins.
there you go. They're not after you guys, man.
Hey, what'd you do?
You do my season.
Yeah, this, you know what? It's different than when I loaded it.
You also like to do with like 64 bit. That's pretty much it. Yeah. It all works.
He's getting that, not an error, but a message on an application. So since we checked that, you should. All right. And I think I've been taping for this whole thing too, which is, you know, kind of a waste. But let's take a look. Again, I'm having problems with this overhead, but let's just take it off of here. So you all have the code, right? Even if you don't have it typed in. Now, again, it actually is not required that you have a package for every, you know, at the top of every program, but it's protocol that you do. Okay? So everybody understands, right, how you created that package statement, correct? All right. Since we call the thing, when we ask for a name and we put in there Payroll 1, that's why we've got the public class Payroll. I'm sorry, we did that, then then we created the class, we made that Payroll. Okay? So the name of the file then is got to be the same name as after it says public class, the Java file will automatically be that name. Did you hear what I said? All right? And it has to be the same, even the caseness has to be the same. All right? Okay. Then it's a block structure language, so everything's within curly braces. What we will get to very shortly is we'll have main in another file. Before we do that, we'll break main out and just make it a driver, but do everything inside of main. Right now, everything we're doing is in main. That's the worst way to write a program, but when you write a program that's 20 or 30 lines like this, it's not really that big a thing. All right? So, the first thing that we have is we've got 9 variables. This is my question. Looking at those 9 variables, is there anything there that anyone doesn't understand? You may notice if you look on your screen, not on the piece of paper, which is black and white, but if you look on the screen, that char and byte and boolean and int, do you see how they're colored on the screen? Those are primitive variable types. String is not a variable type in this language, it's a class. All right, and that's why it doesn't have any special coloring. All right, then after we've got all that, the last variable is double gross pay equals hours worked times hourly rate. Hopefully that makes sense. That just says to take the 40 and multiply it by 25. The good news about this program is it's small, it's easy to get in. Ideally, it gives you a quick victory because you key it in and it works. That's the good news. The bad news is, since we've hard-coded in these values, every time we run the program, it's going to look like this. All right? Okay. System.out.println. System basically, kind of like in C# is more or less, it's a namespace, all right, that holds the out class. And out has got a print line method in it. Print line says, print a line and then move me to the next line. Does that make sense? You use \n in here and \t just like you did in JavaScript, just like you did in C#. You notice how the plus sign is in there? I didn't have to line them up like little soldiers, but we did. All right. So this says first name and it prints out the first name, middle initial, etc. Any questions on any of the stuff that's in here? All right. Then what I'd like you to do is grab everything from where it says public static void main, that line, all the way down to not the last curly, but the second last curly. Grab all of that information. All right? Copy it to the clipboard. Make sure that you have saved, all right, make sure that you have saved your previous file. Okay? Then come in and click on File on your menu and click on Close Project. All right? So you're back at that original one again, right? Now click Create New Project. We're going to go through almost the same steps again that we did before. All right? So you want to make sure that it's still set to Java and that nothing for the Groovy and the Kotlin are checked. Click Next. Make sure none of the things checked on here. Click Next again. This one will be Payroll 2A. Payroll 2 with a little a. Make sure that you're still saving it, where it has the location that's on your desktop in your Java folder. All right, you'll make another folder in there. Once you get that, click Next.
File.
Payroll file.
No. Boy, I wish I had my screen.
Yeah.
Is yours working now?
Yeah, what do I click? Do I press anything here? Do I need to select any of this?
No.
Press next first?
Correct.
Oh, nothing.
Correct. Nothing there.
Okay.
All right, that should be your Payroll 1.
You need to make sure it's
So that will not be under your C drive, that will be under your desktop. That's the one you want on the desktop there.
you go into that online.
Okay? And now it should come up. All right. I just Yeah. Now, click where it's got the Java, click on the arrow at the top of that. Right, no, like you do, right mouse click on where it says source on the folder on source. Right mouse click, choose new, go down to package. That's where you put your stuff.
Okay.
You know, your master cell, etc.
Okay.
So go ahead and put that in.
What was it?
What is it? Org,
Yeah,
org dot inside Rankin.
The one word inside Rankin?
Yeah. Dot Matthew or Matt, whatever it is, underscore percent. Right, and click OK. Now right mouse click on that new folder you just created with that name and choose new. Right at the top, choose Java class, type in payroll right there. Click OK. Now you can type in the first one. When you get done typing in the first one, all right, then you should be able to click run and tell it to run your flow.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Oh, no. Thank Mr. Laurie's there for,
Yeah, thank you.
all right.
I don't know what the difference is.
I'm gonna just ask Paul, because I just want to show you what I did and make sure that we're all on the same page, that's all. It's much easier to show it once as opposed to walking around to each one of you, so. That's right. Close it, open it again. This has never been this bad before. I didn't put any new software on it where I think it should be
So
screwed
they
up.
won't just let you plug it into the wall? You know?
They don't want us to do that.
But can you?
That's a question. Worst case, I can do that, yeah. I have not had, I mean, this morning it worked like a charm. I had no problem with anything. Everything worked just fine. And I used Camtasia, so, you know, I don't know what would make it not work. Yeah, if this doesn't come up, I'll try it like that. Hopefully there won't be any problems doing that. Well, I guess we find out right now whether or not I can still use that, because it didn't come up right away. But it did bring up group music. Which I don't know what the hell that is.
Some days you won't be there, you shut the phone, so you got almost a day.
Yeah. You got nothing?
No,
What? Yeah, well,
you actually don't mind.
I didn't have any first semester. I wish they would have pushed it all back.
Yeah.
Now we just got this last one. I think we got last one. Yeah, no.
Okay, so he thinks it's the wireless access point in here. And he said it's not even going to probably matter if I go to the irregular HDMI code. It may work, it may not work, but he said then I got to change a bunch of settings on here and then change them back again. He suggests not doing it. So he's going to come in here and reboot that in about 5 or 10 minutes. All right, let's just, you're supposed to sit in here until 4:25, but let's talk about the other 2 programs that I gave you. All right, just for a couple minutes. The second one I gave you looks a lot like the first one, except that what we're doing with this second one is we're going to ask the user, so every time you run it, you're going to be putting in values. Does that make sense? All right. There is one that's called 2A and one that's called 2B. All right. Now, when you do this, let me shut this thing off. This will probably be the only time ever when you do this first one and you've got all this keyboard.next stuff, you probably never use that. It's a pain in the butt, and it's not worth using. You'll use the one that comes after that, but I just wanted to show you this because it's possible that you may see it. Now, when you run the program, you've already seen this, that over here, way on the left, that's where you had the information about your file. This over here, that's where your code goes. When you run this one, it will open up your area down at the bottom where you would get your output. The difference is now it'll say something here like first name. And then you'll have to take your mouse and literally click it right there and type in the first name. Does that make sense? Okay. It's kind of a pain in the butt. It works, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. All right? And you'll notice if you look on there, the variables are exactly the same, so there's nothing different in there. You'll notice that for the first name, the middle initial, and the last name, you'll notice how we can just put them in and say keyboard next line. Everybody see that? But when we do the age, it's next byte. When we do the Boolean, it's next Boolean. When we do the employee number, it's next int. So it has to know all the time the type of variable that you're using. The other thing is if you look at the top, I skipped this, right below your variables, do you see where it says scanner keyboard equals new scanner? Everybody see that? All right. Keyboard is just, we're using the keyboard. You could have called it Ralph and it would have worked fine. All right. But because we've got that line in there, that's why we need that import statement that you see right near the top of the screen that says import java.util.scanner. All right? When you have an import statement, every Java import statement will either start like this or it'll start like this. All right? So it'll all start with import java dot something or import java x dot something. And I just want to mention to you, Java has a mantra, and its mantra is write once, read anywhere. To show you how weird a lot of IT people are, it used to be write once, read everywhere. So it came out W-O-R-E. But somebody thought that was whore instead of more. So they changed it to write once, read anywhere. yeah, war, whatever you want to call it. But this X here, what had happened when Java first came out was when you ran a Java program, a graphical program on an Apple machine, it looked much, much, much different than on the Windows machine. And that went against everything Java was supposed to be about. It was supposed to look the same everywhere. So what they did was they made this, instead of using the graphic stuff they had, they made a whole bunch of new graphic stuff that they called Swing. All right? And it's not that important that you know this, but I'm just telling it to you so you've at least heard it. All right? Everything that's Swing is a Java X, which means it's newer. It's been totally rewritten in Java. But whereas these are what are referred to as heavyweight components, these are what are referred to as lightweight components. All right, just so you hear that. So you can see we've got a heavyweight component, java.util.scanner. Now, so we've got java.util.scanner. What that says is everything that's in there, everything that's defined in there, we can now use. Does that make sense? All right. If we knew we were going to use a bunch of stuff under util, we could type in java.util.star. That would do the same thing. But we get a lot of stuff we don't need. But I want to show you something because I found this weird when I first started learning this. So if you imagine we got Java up here. All right. And we've got util. And now we've got scanner. That takes everything that's defined in scanner, it makes it available to you, just so you know that. But let's say under scanner we had something that was called hello. I mean, it's a stupid example. This wouldn't find it. This finds only everything directly here, not underneath here. So if I wanted to do that, I'd have to also not just import this, but I'd also have to import java.util.scanner.hello. All right? And I asked a guy once who was a Java programmer, why did they do it that way? And they said what they didn't want was they didn't want somebody to type in this. And that's what they were afraid of. Is that somebody would say, hey, just give me everything, even if I don't need it. So that's why they set it up like this. So if you want something specific, it's going to get even worse. You're going to have even more import statements when we get to Android. Because Android is even quirkier about it than Java is. All right? Then finally, if you turn to the last page, this is as GUI as we're going to get right now. Where it says show input dialog. All right? That's like, remember when we had an input box, an alert that we had, for example, in JavaScript? Remember when you had the alerts when you said, like enter your name or whatever? That's what this is. And you remember in C# when we had a message box? That's what the message dialog is. So there's a show input dialog and a show message. That's about as GUI as we're going to get for right now. But it'll look a little bit nicer. That's all. All right? So I will give you some time. I'm not sure why yours aren't working, but I want to go over these as a class and make sure that the steps I'm giving you are the steps everybody's following. Does that make sense? All right. And you will have some time to work on this tomorrow, too. I guarantee it. So, at the risk of getting myself into trouble, because I gotta get myself into trouble.